Hello everyone, welcome to the 5 Minutes Global News. Yes, but today we're talking about certain global situations that are affecting and could trigger World War III. Now, we're going to be assessing all the facts, what triggered, or what was the catalyst that made the World War I happen. Now, who are the players and what happened? So let's go all the way to our resources. Now, the reason why we're doing this is we want to connect the status quo, like what's going on at this point, with the current president of the United States, Donald Trump, and the former president of Russia, Dmitry. Now, we all know they have been back and forth with their messages, but on X, today I came across a tweet from an account. That's why you have to be careful with what you listen to. So I urge everybody listening to this, don't forget to follow 5 Minutes Global News, because all our informations are well researched and we know for a fact that this is fact and we put it out there. We can't just put information that we don't trust. Now, this account posted something, said, Medvedev, that's the former Russian president, Dmitry, he said, Trump shouldn't think that the video archive of his past immoralities is only in Mossad's hands. Now, what's Mossad? Is the spy agency for Israel. Now, this is what this account says, that the former Russian president told him, because he and Trump have been going back and forth with each other. Trump told him, watch your words, because he was threatening the United States and even Trump with nuclear World War III. He said, because you see, let's just take this a little bit slow, right? Trump currently is telling India, stop buying Russian oil. The European Union and US are thinking, okay, the reason why Russia is fueling this conflict with Ukraine is because they still sell huge amounts of oil. Now, they thought if they could cut down the Russian markets, oil markets, then they could cut down their intentions to prolong this war. Okay, now, this came up when Trump said, okay, you know what, I'm giving the Russian Federation or the Russian president, my counterpart, 50 days, ultimatum days, so he has to come out and make a deal. Trump is all about making a deal, and I mean, it's there. He has tried so much to stop a couple of wars, so he felt like that's one of the campaign promises, so he wanted to keep it so he can still maintain his base. Now, these situations are something like that happened and triggered the World War I. Just like this, you're hearing it, you're seeing it on the news, and all of a sudden, boom, there are weapons flying, and countries, alliance, are joining the war. This country traveling to other countries to tell them to join the war. Now, one of the intentions why there will be a global war is to change the hand that governs the power of the world. And what are those hands? We're going to be talking about that. So let's go straight up to why World War I was triggered. What really happened? Now, it all dated in 1914. Now, the missed course, a missed tension in Europe. It always starting in Europe. Everything war and conflict. Why? Because it's just who they are. All right, so because we can go all the way to before civilizations and their ancestors and stuff like that. But now, it all started in Europe, but the spark was one assassination. One assassination sparked the global war, World War I. One assassination. So it's very possible, because in the last 4 days, the former Russian president has not been seen online. We all know him to be very active. He's just ridiculously active. So he hasn't been seen online, and the last post, now we're still coming there, I just want you to hold on. Now let's go straight to his account. Now, the last post was in 5 days ago, where he said that Trump is playing the ultimatum game with Russia. 50 days or 10 days, you should remember two things. Number one, Russia isn't Israel or Iran. Number two, even new ultimatum is a threat and a step towards war. Now, he went ahead to say, not between Russia and Ukraine, but with his own country, the United States. Don't go down the Sleepy Joe road. That's what he said. That's what he tweeted 5 days ago. And since then, he hasn't been seen online. Now, remember what we're saying is what triggered, the things that could trigger this World War III. All we're looking at now is that when World War I started, there was no destructive weapons that they have today. Number one, they have the nuclear weapons that is way destructive than whatever we saw in the World War I or II. Now, when you check the videos, you understand. So now countries are more destructive. Countries can fire one weapon to clear a city. just like that. So we were looking at number one, the World War I started with one assassination. Now, and the simple term is, number one, Europe was a power keg. Europe was a power keg. Do you know what a power keg? When you put like fuel in a keg, or in a gallon, any little spark could trigger that. So Europe is always in the verge of destruction, self-destruction, destroying people, destroying continents, trying to enslave people. Europe always had that mentality to go to war whenever. Now, it says that Europe was a power keg. These countries in Europe had made secret alliances and were competing for power. They were competing for power. Remember, number one, they had the conference in 1914 in Berlin, Germany, where they decided to enslave or to invade Africa. You see, so they're always working together for negative motives. European countries. Don't see them as a beautiful country right now. Their beauty as a country or as a continent, they are not continent though, but their beauty as a country is fueled by your resources in Africa. Now, number two, in June 1914, Franz Ferdinand of Austria/Hungary was assassinated in Bosnia of Siberia. Yeah, so this man was assassinated. Now, that's just it. Number three, Austria and Hungary blamed Siberia and declared war. Now, two countries blamed a country and declared war. Now, you see how speed and how fast this can go. Now, number four, because of alliances, other countries were dragged in. Because of alliances. Alliances is what? NATO is an alliance. Is an example of it. NATO. Now, they said NATO, the Article 4, if I'm not mistaken, says one country of NATO going to war, other countries follow. I mean, that's a dangerous article. That's a dangerous alliance. Now, what is the United States and Europe doing when they created NATO? They wanted to seize the power of the world forever, but it's not supposed to. It can never be done. Now, listen, number four, because of alliances, other countries were dragged in. Germany backed Austria and Hungary, and Russia backed Siberia, because they are neighbors. Soon, Britain and France joined. Now, number five, it turned into a massive global war. Russia was dragged in, Britain was dragged in, France was dragged in, Germany was. You see what I'm saying? Now, let's go to World War II right now. What triggered the World War II? It all dated in 1939. The main cause is the same Germany in Europe. These guys keep destroying the world, and we keep looking at them as the savior of the world. I mean, it's just time for us to call the spade a spade. The same World War III, which we all pray not to happen, might really happen, and it's still in Europe. What the hell is going on? Okay, now, in World War II, it all started in 1939. The main cause, Germany invaded Poland. Now, that's Hitler, Adolf Hitler. Germany invaded Poland. Why? Because they thought that when they invade their neighbors, that they could get the world. They were looking forward to, be a world power at that point. Now, they invaded Poland, breaking peace agreement. Okay, you can liken this whole thing with the fact that Russia invaded Ukraine. But remember, Ukraine came out of the belly of Russia. Soviet Union, they had so many countries that after the collapse of Soviet Union. So Russia was, the intentions of Russia, like they said, we don't know. I don't trust any country because it's not mine. Even Nigeria, I don't trust them because Nigeria is a country that cannot be fueled. Nigeria as a country or as a land cannot govern itself. So the people in the country, in the land, governs the country. You understand what I'm saying? So people are prone to be deceived. People are prone to lie. People are prone to be inspired by negative, ulterior motives. But I don't know. Now, this is it. Once Germany invaded Poland, it broke the peace agreement. Now, in simple terms, number one, after World War I, Germany was punished harshly and many Germans were angry. Now, listen to this. After World War I, Germany was punished harshly and many Germans were angry. Now, why were Germany punished? Because they were the first person in World War I that joined the war. They would have calmed the escalations, but they joined. Germany, as a land and a people, they love conflict. You should learn about Europe. Their history. They love to fight and kill themselves. You understand? That's the thing. Now, number two, Adolf Hitler rose to power and promised to make Germany great again. You see that? So many Germans were upset with the current situation of the whole world, punishing them harshly. And all of a sudden, a new leader came and said, "Whoa, I will make Germany great again. I will make." So he brought the mindset of the people of Germany that were already upset with the world. So they hated the world. Now, are we seeing the same pattern being played today? I would say the same pattern. Now, yes, it could really just spring like that. I want all to understand this. It could just go like that. Now, Adolf Hitler came to power and promised. Number 3, he built the military and took over parts of Europe. He built a military that were fueled with a vision, that were fueled with a sign, that were fueled with a mindset. He built his military, then took over parts of Europe. So he did not just take over parts of Europe. You know, when this thing say, oh, he took over parts of Europe, it feels like he just came and say, okay, you give me your country, give me your country. Nah, he invaded other parts of Europe because he was strong. He conquered parts of Europe like Austria. The same Austria, he took over Austria and he took over and Czech Republic. Are you serious? Okay, so he took over Austria and Czech, and other countries tried to avoid another war, so they couldn't stop him. Other countries in Europe, they tried to avoid the war, but they couldn't stop him. But in September 1939, when Germany invaded Poland, Britain, and France. The same Germany invaded Poland, Britain, and France. Finally, declared war on Germany. Oh, okay, hold on. In September 1939, when Germany invaded Poland, Britain and France finally declared war on Germany. So Britain and France, they're allies, so they finally declared war on Germany. The same European countries. They started World War I and II, and now the potential World War III with nuclear weapons is the same place. Now, why did I bring up this whole thing? It's very simple. We all know the current events, with the war in Russia and Ukraine, the stance of Donald Trump, the President Trump. We all know the stance of NATO. NATO are building the armies close to Russia at this point. NATO want to go to war. Some countries in Europe want to go to war, desperately want to go to war with Russia. Desperately want to go to war with Russia. It's not really about Ukraine. They want to split the land of Russia. They want Russia to be conquered and divided. Many countries in Europe, that's the apple of their eyes. They want to invade Russia. But the thing is this, let's check stats and facts. Can we? Now, the stats is this. Russia has one of the biggest landmarks in the world, yes, as a country, but they don't really have much people. I think it's just like 200 or 300 million people or more, So it's not like you can compare that to Nigeria, you can compare that to India or China, right? But Russia, facts. Now, let's go to facts. Russia have the highest nuclear weapons in the world. Now, you might say those nuclear weapons are old, outdated. Man, this nuclear weapon, Russia, I want you to understand what the nuclear weapon is. Man, you can just do your research what the nuclear weapon is. It just clears everything out of its way. So Russia has one. So that's one of the reasons why European countries are afraid, temporarily afraid, to declare war on Russia. Even with the Ukraine crisis, France is in the apple of their eyes. Germany is in the apple of their eyes to fight Russia. UK, but you can't compare these countries with Russia. Okay, now we're looking at Russia as a second world power, as military might, aside from United States. But sincerely, I personally am disappointed with the current, situation in Ukraine. How Russia could not even defeat Ukraine hands down. Do you get that? Russia could not defeat a country. Yes, Ukraine have allies, they're getting weapons overseas and in other countries to defend and attack. But Russia as a country that produces weapons, that have nuclear weapons like that, big country like that, could not defeat Ukraine. The war is dragging over 3 years now. So Trump is saying this war is not making me look good, because I want global peace and I want the economy of the United States to grow rapidly. I want the United States to be the number one as it is. So this war is happening. Remember, Israel and Iran did theirs. Trump had to, do some certain moves that, not everybody liked. Because you have the might, you have the power as the United States, you can't just go to people's country and, bomb stuffs. But that's just what the US does. And they to themselves, they feel they have the right to do it so because they can keep peace with that. They call themselves the policing country of the world. And yes, they are. Now, let's go to why is the US this strong? Why is the United States of America this strong? Can we ask that question? Okay, so let's add this question. First of all, when you're talking about might of a country, you must connect two things together. Number one, the military might, and number two, the economy. These are the two major things. Once you have good military, you have people, population to take over positions. When you have good economy, you have populations to also take over positions in the workforce. So if your country have the ability to generate equipment, good equipment and precision strikes into weapons, missiles, the whole military stuff. You have the ability to produce these things rapidly when any conflict happens, then yes, you are. Now, the United States, talking about the military might, the United States, let's go straight to this. Now, the recent estimate of the United States military bases in the world is almost 750 military bases around the world in 80 countries and territories. 750 military bases in 80 countries and territories. No other country in the entire world, or even when the world began, when God said, let there be world, no countries has ever had that before. So the US is a leading force. All right, so they have 750 military bases around 80 countries and territories. Now, let's break this down. The large bases with thousands of personnel can be found in Germany, Japan, and South Korea, because that's their allies. Now, South Korea, so they can knock any North Korea or China. Japan, the same thing, so they can control Asia. Germany, they can control even Russia and Europe. Now, this is very crucial. Now, they can control their interests as well. Number two, the smaller outposts and installations spread across Africa. Now, they have a lot of small outposts in Africa, so they control Africa. They also have small posts in the Middle East, Asia, and Latin America. So basically, all the continents in the world have housed the bases of US military. Now, unconfirmed and secret bases. Some bases, such as drone facilities in Africa or special forces outposts, are not always publicly acknowledged, but they have some sort of secret bases in continents as well, mostly Africa, Asia, and some other parts. That's the might of the US. That's why the US can query any country, and you can talk about the submarines. Now, top countries hosting US bases, yes, we say Japan, Germany, South Korea, Italy, United Kingdom, and other countries in other continents. Now, the purpose of these bases is, number one, strategic defense and deterrence, rapid deployment for conflict, support for allies, NATO, etc., and logistic training and surveillance. Now, listen to this. These four things, very important. Now, the purpose for this is strategic defense and deterrence. Strategic. What happened with Iran and Israel? Iran was pounding Israel to the greatest surprise of all other countries. Iran became so strong, and the United States had to send their submarine because they were positioned where they can actually deter. You see that, right? Now, rapid deployment for conflict, rapid deployment for country. Now, Russia don't have this ability. If Russia declares war with the United States can fire Russia from Italy, from Germany, from UK, from Japan, from South Korea, and from even Ukraine. The United States can fire as well from Israel. So the US is well positioned. So now let's come to the conclusion of this. All we're doing is just to pray that nothing happens when it comes to global conflict, because countries are intertwining with each other more than before. You find countries having allies because you cannot be an island in this world. You can't be an island. You need parties to fight for you, to support you, to defend you, to be happy with you when you're prospering, to defend you when you're fighting. You can see what happened to Ukraine. If not that Ukraine had some allies, Ukraine would have been destroyed, totally destroyed. So the importance of partnership is very crucial in these current situations. Now, if anything happens and we go to World War III, it's a different ballgame altogether. Countries with nuclear weapons are many countries with nuclear weapons, with sophisticated weapons. So we're praying that this war, global war, does not ensue, but at the same time, we have to understand the global norm. So I urge everyone to follow us on all social media handles. 5 Minutes Global News with DSNMD on all social media handles. Very important. We give you this blitz within 5 minutes, summarize it in 5 minutes, and enlighten you on something that is going on. So thank you so much. I remain your host, DSNMD. Don't forget to follow us, like I said, and God bless you.